Howdy guys. So here we are, day 2, and today is July the 2nd. Kind of a bleaky morning here to start off with, but the weather's supposed to improve. And man, sometimes I'm just kind of in awe of this battlefield and what happened here. You know, one thing I kind of, a trap that I've kind of been falling into, guys, is I've been coming up here so much, as you know. A lot of the battlefield, as I've mentioned before, it sometimes kind of seems just, you know, not boring, but it starts sometimes to kind of feel very comfortable and very familiar. And you know, these 3 days early in July here are quite special. And this morning is kind of one of those mornings where I just look around me and I just kind of see like the ghosts. You know, I kind of envision the battle and you know, all the soldiers moving across the fields and the farms and up and down the hills, and I can just kind of see it in front of me. It helps that nobody's out here yet, which I'm kind of surprised at. It's kind of nice. I thought even, you know, early on there would be more people out here, but so far there are very few, which I'm very happy about. So just to recap, guys, because in all likelihood I probably won't be doing much back here at Devil's Den. This place will soon be overrun, and you know, as I've said before, I'm really happy when this place is really busy. But I'm also very happy when it's not very busy, to be honest. So, you know, I'm just gonna cover I'm just kind of gonna recap, guys. Here's a monument. I really love these monuments of the artillerists with their ramrod in their hand. This is to the 4th New York Independent Battery. Of course, they did their best. They performed their job admirably, but eventually it would just prove to be too much. John Bell Hoods, men, of course, were coming up, and of course, as we know, John Bell Hood was wounded by artillery, I believe, which would have been coming from this battery, and he was wounded quite early in the skirmish. Devil's Den began, the battle here up here began around 4:30 in the mid to late afternoon. So as we know, Bell was wounded. He was replaced by Evander Law. An interesting thing about that I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned is Evander Law, from all accounts that I've read, seems to have been really kind of almost missing in action. I mean, he was here, but it's possible that he was kind of one of those, sorry guys, I never curse, but one of those chicken shoot generals who kind of just managed to not be seen a whole lot once the fighting really picked up. Here's a plaque to Robertson's brigade. I don't think I've ever shown you. 1st, 4th, 5th Texas, and 3rd Arkansas. You guys can screenshot that. One thing that's always interesting to me, I mean, it's not surprising, but it's just kind of funny how many of the brigades, I think more so on the Confederate side, but also on the Union side, were often just kind of portioned off, if you will, by state. Obviously Robertson's were mostly from Texas. Let me see, who else do we have? Robertson was pretty much at the forefront. Anderson was kind of coming in from behind to the north, but he kind of swung towards the wheat field. And as I've mentioned, you know, day two's battles were, I mean, not, you know, I've mentioned the wheat field as kind of being like just a melee. All of day two in the late afternoon, it was just kind of one big melee. You know, it just kind of swirled around this area. You know, you could kind of say it started here at Devil's Den. It sprawled off towards, you know, when Sickles made his advance, it sprawled off to the peach orchard, then the wheat field, and really almost made like a clockwise, like I said, you know, or like others have put it, you know, a whirlpool of death. Just one big melee. Who else did we have? Sorry, we had Henry Benning, and Henry Benning's men were 100% Georgians. 100% Georgians. Something else kind of to think about when you're up here is that you know, much of day two really seemed to be a big draw. Other folks might disagree with this general analysis, but you know, day one was obviously in the Confederates' favor, although someone would say they didn't capitalize on it well enough. Day two up here, I think day two was a real draw between the armies, because there were quite a few instances, like up here at Devil's Den, where the Confederates were victorious in that part of the battle, or that battle within the battle, but it really wasn't capitalized upon, once again, as we know. So some of his, like I said, some of Hood's men swung up, or some of the divisions and brigades swung this way, somewhat northward, towards Devil's Den. Some also pushed to the east, approaching Little Round Top. So they kind of split up. And, you know, as we all know, Little Round Top, they eventually were stopped to a halt. So, you know, Devil's Den is often characterized as, you know, not a wasted effort. It was a good effort on the part of the Confederates, but eventually, tactically speaking, you know, it wasn't that fruitful, because they conquered this hill, but this hill proved to be not nearly as you know, strategic and advantageous as some who are just kind of starting to study Gettysburg in the battlefield might think. It's just not nearly as commanding as Little Round Top over there, Cemetery Ridge, Cemetery Hill, places like that. Let me see, where else did the Confederates kind of win or push back on day two? They captured the peach orchard. Peach orchard, as I've mentioned in other videos that may not have posted yet, I'm not sure, but the peach orchard, as I mentioned in another video, you know, so when I started studying this stuff, you know, I thought Sickles was just a real buffoon, a really careless guy out here on the battlefield. You know, he wasn't a West Pointer, etc., etc. None of that is to say that he didn't care about this war. None of it to say that he was necessarily a bad general. You know, I mean, I think in my opinion, he wasn't the best, and he actually also wasn't the worst. His move to advance his Third Corps was and is still very controversial. And it's one of those things that people will just, you know, always debate. Gosh, I just love being out here, guys. I love being up top here. It's so terrific. Again, these things are kind of hard to see until you really explore the battlefield. Sickles is kind of down here starting off at the base of Little Round Top. But if you think about it, he's almost in something of a valley. You know, again, Pennsylvania has very rolling hills, and when he got to the peach orchard, he actually had a better position in some ways, because he could see what was coming up over the ridge across Emmetsburg Road, which happened to be where Longstreet was coming from. Anyhow, guys, I can't believe I'm already out of time. I'll give you a little moment of zen, as Gary Hadelman says, and we'll see you on the next one. All right. Happy 162nd, guys. We'll see you soon.